Alright, we are starting down the countdown for, I believe, the first series of the week played so far. Chem versus DeinGesicht. This is on MLG Metalopolis, which is one of the more balanced maps. It may be favored for the Zerg or for the Terran depending on what positions each player gets. Cross positions tend to be Zerg favored, whereas close positions would tend to be Terran favored. We'll see where everyone lands when the game starts here in a couple seconds. Alright, spawning down here in the lower left, we have Chem, the purple Zerg. Spawning up here in the 8 o'clock position, we have DeinGesicht, the green Terran. I'm going to have to say that this is probably Zerg favored, simply because Chem's going to be able to expand to all three of these fairly easily. He's going to be able to take all those expands, whereas DeinGesicht is going to have a hard time sieging up and taking one of these due to the cliff above and just the fact that all of these can easily reinforce this choke right here. But we'll have to see what's going to happen. Okay, let me put on our little interface here. It looks like Chem is going to go ahead and scout with his Overlord, which is going to mean he doesn't even have to send a scouting drone out here. DeinGesicht is gonna wall off his front, which is always good against Terran. Or not against Terran, against Zerg, mind you. Silly me, silly me. Queuing up this early, it's not gonna make that big of a difference. Usually you don't want to queue things up earlier in the game. I tend to queue them up a little bit earlier when you are floating a little bit of minerals, but you usually don't want to queue anything up. Okay, you're gonna scout him dead last. He's going for a 14 pool. He's going for a traditional 14 pool build. So he may be looking to expo. I would venture around the 20 sometime. Though he probably could have gotten away with a 14 hatch, 14 spawning pool fairly easily. We can go ahead and see how this plays out. Like I say, Ben. Another thing that you may want to do with these scouting probes is you always may want to hit these towers. Just have a waypoint at these towers on the movement path. That way, when he hits the tower, if you do see a drone or something running this way, you might have an idea that either that this is his base over here, or if you see a drone over here. So actually, Chem's opting to go for a 16 hatchery. I'd say he should be relatively safe, just because DeinGesicht hasn't seen it yet, and I don't believe that the DeinGesicht is a aggressive player. Against someone like Agent Smashing, then it would probably be negative for him. Another thing here is where Chem, he had him to search, he wanted him to scout up here, and what happened is the drone ended up stopping right here. That's an automatic giveaway that you know that this is blocked off, because the pathing, that's just how the pathing AI in this game works, is he's going to know if he can't get up there, your drone will just run against a wall or something instead of actually going up the ramp and trying to get there. So his drone's going to get traced away, and it does look like DeinGesicht has scouted the early hatchery down here. So we're going to see if he can punish it, though Marines against Zerglings are not going to do a lot of damage. He really needed to go a little bit earlier on the 2 racks if he wanted to, or he could even transition into 3 racks pressure. Going with this early gas, I'm going to have to assume that he's going to go for tanks, which is Ben's staple. Tanks will be very good at defending. Ben, knowing that he expanded, you may actually want to opt to go for your own expansion earlier, and then you could lay, you could have your barracks right here to block your ramp to prevent Zergling run-bys, and you could have a barracks here and here, or you could have a barracks here and a barracks here, and maybe, or not a barracks, a bunker here and a bunker here, and maybe a barracks over here blocking run-bys onto these drones. And with tanks behind them, this is going to be a very easy to defend position for a Terran player against a Zerg. I know on this map, I actually try to choke Terran players out. Let's go ahead and look at their units. The units are relatively similar. A little bit more army for Chem, but that's to be expected. He has a little bit more food. He has more income, which again, he has 2 bases. He So, right all over that hatchery. Yeah, take that dump on that hatchery. He's got a queen coming out of his other hatchery. He's opting for second gas relatively early. He could be hitting the layer button just because he is floating so many minerals. He could be warping to a layer right now. He's a little bit behind on that. Nothing too big. He does have a lot of zerglings though, so expanding for you, and he has a zergling out here, which is very, very good idea, because now he's going to know if you're moving out. And he popped up there, he sees what kind of army you have, and he knows, oh, you don't have a lot of army. He could, I say he could morph in a lot of zerglings. If he wanted to choose to be aggressive in this instance, he would stop droning, build all zerglings, send them all over here, morph some of them into banelings, and blow up this supply depot and run his zerglings in, if he wanted to be an aggressive zerg. I tend not to be an aggressive zerg myself. He is throwing down the baneling nest. He does. I will say that Chem does opt to go for banelings more often than not. Chem does need to throw up an overlord. He is 2 from supply, or from supply capped. Whereas we have DeinGesicht, he is doing what I told him to. He's dropping supply depots around here. Now look at this, Ben, or DeinGesicht. If you look at this, he doesn't have anyone in this area over here searching it. You could make a medevac, send it down here, and then drop a load of marines or something here, and kill some of his drones, and then get back on and go back off. Remember, it is very hard for a Zerg player to get some anti-air early on. It takes until they get a layer, and then on top of that they have to do a Hydralisk Den or Aspire, which both take a little bit of time. I don't think he's going to opt to attack your base here. I don't think he's going to opt to be aggressive here, but he does have banelings. So your marines are not going to be very useful against banelings. You're going to want more marauders just because they do have more health. If we look at the army tab, green is a little bit ahead, but the banelings could really hurt, and zerglings are good against marauders by themselves. So you need your marauders up front to tank the banelings, and then you need your zerglings. Oh no, this isn't going to be good for the Terran player at all. He wants his army behind this wall, and he doesn't want his army out here, because if they get surrounded by these zerglings and blown up by the banelings, he is going to lose this game. He really, and he needs to keep. Oh well, he has so many structures up, and let's look at his units again. He has, well, you know, he has a mule. He is opting to expand here. This is a good choice. This is a good choice. You need to attack those. You need to move your marines back. Oh. Can he hold this? Can he hold this? If he warps in more units, he could hold this. He did hold it. Okay. And the Terran player is now going to have their expansion. Though, I think Chem might opt to be very aggressive here, knowing that you have such a little army. You may want to come out here and throw a bunker down, but you also need to focus on your army first. It needs to be army first and then bunker. A safer way for you to have expanded that is to have your army here so they can snipe down the cliff, and then have these up and build your command center up here until it's completed. Then you can just lift it off and land it there. Chem, you should be opting to take your third at this moment, probably, just because you do have map control, and you know he's going for a second base now. Unless you plan on being aggressive and ending it right now, I would definitely opt to take my third. You are only at 30 drones. You're actually behind the Terran player, which is not good for a Zerg player. So you may want to work. You are a little drone light this time. I say you do have a lot of drones mining Vespene. Look how much Vespene you have, and then look how many minerals you have. What you could have done is you could have pulled some of these off of the Vespene and put them on. Unless you're saving up for Mutalisk. We'll see what you're planning to do here. You are on top of your upgrades here. You've got 2 Evo chambers, so you are going to get attack and carapace upgrades. Does he have siege? He does have siege. What would be really nice here, like I'm saying, is bunkers. And you could move back closer to this even, but bunkers would be very nice, especially against banelings, because bunkers will be able to eat some of the baneling blows before your units are out there. Chem is now opting to take his third. He does have overlords at his 4th and his 5th. Both players are even in food, so this is still a relatively even match. If we look up here, we do not have concussive shells, which should have been one of the first things you upgraded there. And then we do not have Marine Combat Shield either, which is going to be very helpful against these banelings just because of the health. You have 2 engineering base, so you're opting for double upgrades. That's very good. That's very good. So you're on 1-1, as well as he is on he is on 0-1, but very, very close to 1-1. He's going to send this Zergling in just to get an idea of what you're doing. He knows that you have a tanks, or at least a tank. He didn't really get an idea of what you have, other than just that he had a tank that blew up his Zergling. Now, he could opt to expand again, or he could get some Mutalisks, which now he does have this out. Let's look at his production. He has 4 Mutalisks coming out, so this might be bad for the Terran player because he doesn't have any of his army in his main, and he doesn't have any missile turrets set up against a Zerg player. The other thing that could be bad is even if he does set up some missile turrets or get his Marines inside of his base, what he can do is pick off these supply depots, which I still say you should have these. These are definitely good to be here. Actually, if you look at this chem, or if you look at DeinGesicht, he does not have vision in this corner, simply because his buildings are so far away and the smoke around this. What you could do is put a nexus here and send a stream of Zerglings into his main, and then when his army pulls back to attack, you could pull all your Zerglings back into the nexus again. Again, that's kind of a risky and unneeded maneuver in this case. Yes, you should be aggressive with these Mutalisks. That's the proper call. You also have a lot of Zerglings out here. If we look at our army, armies are right about even. In fact, with the Terran player pulling ahead, if we look at the income tab, they're just about even, though the Zerg player has more Vespene gas. This is probably due to the fact that he has mules. The Terran player has mules. You need to pull these Mutalisks back now. You need to pull the Mutalisks back now. You only lost 1. That's not a huge deal, and you also dealt quite a blow. I killed about 5 SCVs, which is pretty good, pretty significant when your drone count is very even. Are you making more drones? You're making only 3 more drones. The problem here, Chem, is that you are on 3 base and you only have 40 drones. You should just throw your next spawn larva completely into drones. And then the fact that you are going Muta Baneling and Muta Ling, I do love your creep spread, and that you have a dedicated queen just to creep spread. That's very good. You're going to be very close to his base very soon. Ben, you may want to get a tech lab so that you can get a Raven